Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to the Creative Cranium. I got a terrific guest tonight, and I can't wait to talk to him. Please welcome Zach Howard. Welcome,
Hello,
Zach.
I'm Zach. Nice to meet you.
Man, I'm super excited to talk to you. And as I was saying backstage, I'm fairly active in the indie comics community and back a ton of projects. And my pal Jeff Haas reached out to me, and he's like, "Hey, do you know this guy, Zach Howard?" And I didn't. And I started digging into your work and this new Kickstarter. And man, it looks incredible. Zach, can you tell us a little bit more about Moonshine Bigfoot?
Yes, it's a new series I'm trying to fund. We've been successful rather on Kickstarter so far. We could use a few more shekels, so we've kept the campaign fun, added new tiers, tons of new merch. Still a lot of fun things to do, if I can just keep saying fun, I guess, again, over and over. But it's our tagline for it is the greatest cryptozoological action adventure comedy of all time.
It looks great, man. This project looks right up my alley. And for the viewers like me who hadn't heard of it or seen it, that's Moonshine Bigfoot. Please come over to Kickstarter and check this out. You won't be disappointed. I love the artwork in this book, and the design of it is really striking. Can you tell us a little bit, Zach, about how you got your start?
Oh, on this book or in my career?
How about a little of both?
Well, we'll just start in my career. I started about 23-ish years ago, and I was getting my thesis in college, had to take an illustration class. The instructor had done some minor comic book work, Aliens versus Predator backup story or something. But that was the first person I'd ever met that had done comic books. So I was enthralled, even though I was getting degrees in sculpture and stuff. I'd always wanted to be a comic book artist when I was younger. So I was excited. He dragged me to a con, Mega Con, I think 2000 was the year, and had a ton of fun. People liked my work. I asked my then girlfriend if I could try and be a comic book artist for a few years, knowing that it would be a struggle. I couldn't get in, though. I mailed off like 30-something portfolios. Two gaming companies got back to me, and one gave me a job, Steve Jackson Games, and I was a spot illustrator for them in gaming manuals for about 2.5 years. And then I got the Hellboy Resource Manual gig when they acquired that license, and I did the comic book in that and some spot illustrations, and then that launched my career. I went to Batman, then I left DC, wasn't having a blast doing superheroes, so I thought I'd go back to indie comics, try it again, and did the Shaun of the Dead comic book with Chris Ryall at IDW, and that did really well, and that led to Marvel, and then doing Aliens, and every IP you can possibly think of. Justice League run for covers, and I inked a few issues of that book, but mostly have drawn and illustrated my whole career, drawn and inked my own stuff. Had a really popular series called Wild Blue Yonder, which was a big success for me, and made a lot of things out of it, including an Intel/Apple animation with Gerard Butler. A lot of fun. Sold that company. Then I did Hellboy again 17.5 years later, and that was a true honor. Mignola wrote that one, and he had me fill the shoes of Richard Corbin to do the sequel to The Crooked Man.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's going to be the new movie. The book just got collected this November, so that's been a lot of fun signing for that. And I was working on my next 450-page graphic novel that I'm doing, and accidentally stumbled upon this idea that was Moonshine Bigfoot. And 6 months later, here we are at the tail end of a Kickstarter trying to luckily it has reached its goal, but in reality, a few more shekels wouldn't hurt, because we're five creative professionals of about 75 years comic book experience. And the more money we can get, the more full time we can illustrate this series.
Impressive, impressive. Well, thanks for sharing that. And since you brought it up, I did have a question about that. So when you have 5 on the team, was it?
Well, yeah, I'd say we have 3 heavy creatives, which is Steve Ellis. He's a long time. He's been doing this longer than me. He used to illustrate Lobo, and now he's a famous Magic the Gathering painter. Some of the most famous Goblin cards ever were painted by him. He's penciling it. I'm inking it. Kind of more traditionally be known as finishes, if
Right.
how you'd see in like books in the 80s and stuff like that. And then we got a newcomer, an actor, screenwriter named Mike Marlowe, a longtime friend of mine who co-created this with me. We're scripting this together. And then we got Nelson Daniel, best colorist on earth. He's the guy who colored that Iron Giant behind me.
Just a quick comment. That's one of my favorite pieces of yours. I love that Iron Giant.
Honored. Thank you very much.
It's
Yeah,
really
that's
cool.
why I made it the banner. Everybody can identify with that movie, right?
Of course.
So, but Nelson Daniel, he has a ton of Eisner nods and an Eisner, and he's been my colors for 13, 14 years, ever since we did G.I. Joe together, and we did uh, uh, Wild Blue Yonder is a big one. The Cape is another big one. We've done a million things.
Yeah.
Apologies. Again, a little bit of cold medicine, and I have fog brain I'm fighting through. So
Well, I appreciate you. I still
all your
appreciate
fans.
you coming over, man. I know you had a little bit of a cold, and I appreciate you trucking through it and coming over to chat with us
I'm
today.
sure thanks for the listeners for putting up with my old worn out husky voice there.
So how about, it sounds like a quality team. Obviously, you got some superstars on this team. How do you choose your teammates when you do a project like this?
Well, when I had my own entertainment as co-owner of a company called Noble Transmission. We did our first book was Wild Blue Yonder, which really did well, filled the coffers, opened the path for a lot of things, and eventually led to doing a book with the actor singer Common. We did that
Oh,
for Webtoons, and worked with Robert Glasper. He has multiple Grammy winner. It was really neat experience. But while I was kind of I guess art director of that company, I had to kind of manage teams while I was also an artist. So kind of by the end of its 6-year run, when I sold my share of it, I was kind of trained to be kind of like I don't know, sergeant and a platoon or special forces unit. I can
right.
just give me a few good people, and I can put something together, and that's what
Yeah.
I've been doing, and with pretty tight team. Now this one outside of Nelson Daniel is basically a new team for me. Steve Ellis I met at AfricaCon last year. We're one of the few artists that were American artists. They flew out there. We had like a 2-week tour, but we all became pretty tight because we're traveling around
Yeah, I
South
bet.
Africa together. And Steve was one of the only other comic book artists. And of course, I knew him from hell. I think I was in college when I first saw his stuff when he was doing Lobo, and so we had a lot to talk about. And he was mentioning to me that he kind of wanted to break back into comic books, and I had this idea batting around, but being kind of like this surrealist comedy, I was a little reluctant to pencil and ink the whole thing myself. Its tone is kind of Alice in Wonderland with a little bit of kind of 1980 Americana pop culture satire, and a kind of
Yeah,
a loving
yeah.
nod to all the media and fun TV shows and goofy, stupid things that we all loved back then. So Steve's really good at cartooning. I'm a very heavy, you've seen my work, I'm really heavy handed and saturated, and I kind of force you to look at the piece for a while, and it's really good for horror, i.e., anything Joe Hill. That's why he hired me
Okay.
for it. The Cape, and
Yeah,
or Hellboy or Aliens or anything like that. I'm
sure.
kind of known for that. The last time I had done a comedy was in 2005 with Sean Murphy. It was called Outer Orbit for Dark Horse.
Gotcha.
And I really enjoyed that book when I did it, albeit stressful, but it was like all creator-owned projects are. But it was a blast going to work every day. We just laughed and laughed and laughed. So I wanted this experience to be fun, and I didn't want it to be suffocating for me, like a lot of jobs are, in the sense that I take them very seriously and I'm really working and grinding. Where Steve brings this almost, he just has this like kid energy that's just amazing because he's so talented, you know, for, I mean, decades and decades of a pro, as a pro. I wanted to try inking over his stuff. And if you see our concept art for Moonshine Bigfoot on the Kickstarter, there's a little concept page with a fun little take on him, character sheet. That was literally my first time inking him, and right away you could tell something was happening, like the peanut butter jelly mix.
Yeah,
You
the
know,
lightning in a bottle.
yeah, and it really was fun right away. So he was committed, and we're gonna pull our belts tight and get to the finish line. We got 4 issues, 100 pages, superstar team. And I promise you, it's going to be one of the funniest things you ever read.
Yeah, viewers, if you're just tuning in, we're talking about Moonshine Bigfoot with Zach Howard, and I was lucky enough to stumble across this on Kickstarter. And it's let's circle back around to the character design. I think they're some of the most original character designs that I've seen in several years. Tell us a little bit about how you came up with the designs, and were they influenced by anything to make the designs?
Honored, thanks. Yeah, so Steve Ellis and I, once we kind of had the kind of like the scaffolding for the story we were trying to tell, we started just kind of fleshing out the character. We got a good paragraph about him. We talked about kind of how he's going to act, and you know, we want he needs a little bit of a Burt Reynolds smile from Smokey and the Bandit.
And
but
man, I got to tell you, you really get that from the panels and from the page design. It really does have that sort of loving feel for the 1970s, 1980s action buddy approach, you know. And
no, thanks.
it really sings, and particularly in the characters, right? And what I mean by that, they're not quite to where it's parody, but it's just like a little flavor, right? Like a little flavor.
Yeah. That's why I call it a loving satire, because we're taking those things we love and cherishing them and making fun of them at the same time. But the great thing, we're bringing I mean, we have a lot of talent as far as professional storytellers. So this is the same level of storytelling we would on any graphic novel. If I was working on Hellboy or a Joe Hill book or Pick Your Poison, except we're doing something I think that will leave you feeling a little bit lighter. It's a real coming of age story, but kind of told in this again, surrealist Alice in Wonderland world. You know,
it's got a lot of charm. Something like a palate cleanser after reading the Cape, right?
Yeah. Oh well, after reading the Cape, yes, you're gonna need a palate cleanser.
I'm a fan of that stuff too. Yeah, I'm a Joe Hill fan too. So.
Oh, awesome! Yeah, he's one of my favorite people to work with. He's just a good dude, and he doesn't have to be. Is the interesting things. He taught me a lot about tabling and interacting with fans. He's brilliant at it and genuine, and he'll sit there and sign for 600 people, and every one of them floats away all happy on tippy toes because he makes every single person feel special. And that's something I learned from him. Really genuine dude.
Nice. Well, that's a nice anecdote. Thanks for sharing that.
Hey, no problem. He's coming along as a writer too.
yeah, he's had some success. I like his one about I'm a short story guy, and he has the one that's like a tribute to Metamorphosis, Kafka's Metamorphosis.
Oh yeah, was that in 20th Century Ghosts?
I think it is, and it's when the something sings.
Yeah, I apologize. Sorry, Joe, you're never gonna hear this, but just in case.
But give him a shout out. Here it is, me remembering it. Man, what a terrific story! He did a great job.
That whole 20th Century Ghost is rereadable. It's wonderful.
Well, and I'm so pleased to see I like things like graphic novels and short stories. And there's like a resurgence in really cool
Yeah,
material lately. So
absolutely.
again, we're talking about Moonshine Bigfoot with Zach Howard. If you're on the fence about what cool book to buy, come on over to Kickstarter right now. There's your call to action and buy it. This book looks terrific. I want to ask you a couple of questions. So obviously you're a cryptid fan, much like myself. First, what's your favorite cryptid?
Well, I'd have to say Bigfoot
Is it?
because it's the most tangible. Sorry, I talked over you there, but I was never heavy into it, but it's just one of those things. Having grown up in our time, the $1 Million Man was fighting Bigfoot.
That's what I was going to
The
ask you.
Hulk was. Everybody was fighting or teaming up with Bigfoot, and either that or they're in imminent peril of quicksand. So you either had to fight Bigfoot or you're gonna die in quicksand. In every show we watched back then, I'm gonna have to put. There's gonna have to be some quicksand in Moonshine Bigfoot. I've decided now.
That's,
So it doesn't matter where you are in the world. There's quicksand. By the way, you got to watch out for it.
yeah.
I was pretty certain about 50% of people died by quicksand when I was a kid.
Yeah, it seemed to be a much bigger deal back then. It was
Yeah,
like I say, almost every episode.
yeah. So yeah, I definitely have to go with Bigfoot, but I like what is it, Nessie and everybody. Those things are fun, but there's something about Bigfoot because it's humanoid, so therefore we can identify with it a little bit more. It's a little bit more transcends a lot of cultures around the world about, and who knows what existed X amount of years ago, in the woods. They're seeing a lot of, I mean, there's a ton of finds now. We had like 5 or 6 hominids on Earth living at the same time. So who knows where a lot of these myths kind of found their origin, you know? So that one has a ring of truth probably more than like the Jersey Devil or something like
Yeah,
that.
or the Frogman. I'm a big Mothman fan. That's one of
Oh
my
yeah,
favorites. Hey, I don't suppose, did you ever see the movie Mothman Prophecies?
I did not. I apologize.
No,
I
it's okay.
apologize.
I was just going to throw that out there because that has a great representation of. I love all kinds of cryptids in media, and that's one of my favorite portrayals. Not because of what he looks like, and he looks cool, but because of the psychological horror element.
I'll have to check it out, sir.
Well, and it was a little bit of a segue because I'm going to ask you next. In Moonshine Bigfoot, you have kind of a curious blend of genres, right? Like it's an adventure story. You got cryptids. It's like a 70s tribute. There's a little bit like of a redneck flavor.
Yeah.
What gave you the idea? Let me think how I want to ask this. How did you get the idea to put such diverse elements?
Sure. Mostly just trying to stay awake on a road trip with Mike Marlowe. I had a CBD company for a few years, and we're coming back from a convention, driving through the Colorado mountains in the middle of the night, trying to keep each other awake. And we were just kind of bitching about movie remakes, how uninspired they are. They just kind of keep retreading the tire, trying to find that glory, but they kind of miss the point usually in what they're trying to do. They're either copying it or just lose the kind of the point and the magic of the whatever the original incarnation was. So I was, of course, bitching about the Dukes of Hazzard, how much I liked it as a kid. And they keep trying to make these movies that just look like crap and are crap. And I said, well, if you're gonna make Dukes of Hazzard 7, why don't you just have Bigfoot driving the damn thing? And 6 months later, we had an entire world. We had a coming of age story, a nice, fun Superman origin story. And we do, as you said, pull a lot of genres and kind of glue them together in this fun Allison, through the looking glass type world. And
I'm gonna share some art panels here on the screen. It's one of those things that when you describe it, it doesn't sound like it would work, and yet it really, really clicks, and it's a distinct look to that universe. And great job by this team.
Thanks. We're trying to stay true to a lot of again, the things that we loved back then. So we're pulling in the first wave of Japanese animation, like Speed Racer, G-Force, all the way to Knight Rider, to Mask, the old cartoon with the weird transforming vehicles, to Smokey and the Bandit,
Smokey and
Dukes
the
of
Bandit for
Hazzard,
sure.
lots of
I was sure you were going to say A-Team.
A-Team's right in that mix.
Yeah.
So we have a lot of fun. We're playing with some tropes, some fond cliches, and etc. Along with yeah, we poke fun at it. Well, kind of, you know, I don't know what we all do. We all laugh at stupid shows like
Yeah,
Dukes
it's
of Hazzard.
terrific. I think you said it the best way. It's sort of like a loving
Yeah, and
parody. It's like an homage, and the way that it is set up is really the panels are great. I love the Smokey and the Bandit panels, that just arresting panels. So let's rewind that a little bit to when you're a little bit younger. Who were your influences? Like when you were younger, were your influences primarily artists, writers? Start us out when you're very young.
Well, I was always a big reader. I was terribly dyslexic, so they had me doing all these exercises, and I eventually just fell in love with reading. Read a million books, but uh, uh, comic books. I grew up overseas often, so comic books were hard to find. So I had to
Where's?
like
Do you mind if I ask where's overseas for you, Zach?
Germany was when I was I don't know late elementary school for a few years, and you couldn't get many comic books on an army base in the middle of the Black Forest. So I could get the Conan magazine and occasionally 2000 AD, like Judge Dredd
Oh
stuff,
yeah, I know it.
but it was mostly just Conan the magazine. So I fell in love with John Buscema and stuff. Uh, uh, and then when I lived in Hawaii, when I was in my teen years, my buddy brought over like X-Men, and then I fell in love with, comics all over again, seeing Wolverine crucified is like X-Men 258 or something like that, and or 259, I don't know, one of those. I'm getting old, man. And
Hey,
old man.
You mentioned 2000 AD. Any chance you were a Miracle Man fan?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah,
Oh,
that's yeah.
I
So I mean, it was just so good back then, man.
yeah,
Yeah, I'm
yeah.
sure it's good now. I just haven't checked it out, but man, it was such a different influence than say like Spider-Man or something that I grew up when I was really young.
Right.
Spider-Man and Friends and all those cartoons, and he was in the Electric Company and blah blah blah. So I got really heavy into comics. So at that time, McFarlane was hitting, Jim Lee was coming on. It was a magical time, and
Magical
then
time.
everything was on fire. And
Comico was still in business.
there you go.
I used to
And,
like them too. Remember them?
oh yes, there's a ton of things we could bring up from back then, especially companies that aren't around anymore. But uh, uh, I quickly one that I always liked when I found a few Hulk issues when I was young, and Mike Mignola had done the covers or did the covers for them.
Yeah.
And he had kind of this plug, kind of European style to kind of bubbly style. It was really interesting. And I remember liking it. And then I picked up I think it was like Web of Spider-Man #2 annual because Arthur Adams was in it, one of my favorite artists. But Mike Mignola did a story in that about the black costume. I can't remember who inked it, but it was really cool inking. It was a little rougher than you usually see on Mignola, and like heavy brush, sideways brush on textured paper type inking. And then I just became a humongous Mignola fan. Found all this stuff, but also at the same time I was becoming a huge Frank Miller fan because of Batman. So Dark Knight, Ronin, all those, and they were kind of leading me on probably one of the best stories of all time, Elektra Lives, I believe it's
Yeah,
called,
I love all
on
that
the
stuff.
hardcover.
Yeah,
Saved up my paper route money, and I got that hardcover that's like so big you could beat a cougar to death with it. So big, and uh, blew me away. It was like, screw, got this book, and So I early on, by my by my early teens, I was starting to really lean towards indie type and European type artwork and just people that were a little bit off center. Not that I didn't like the mainstream books, and I just that always flavored me. The heavy blacks, the textures, setting the scene, really good storytelling, rather than the splash page with Wolverine. Haha. I liked
Right.
that, but as I got older, I started becoming storytelling obsessed.
Yeah,
And
yeah, you've chose some great examples. How about obviously a huge Hellboy fan? What did you think of the last movie, the Harbor version?
I didn't see it.
I liked it. I liked it.
Well, you're one of the rare ones.
Yeah.
It was coming out when I was drawing the last Hellboy story, and I was working really hard on it. And I think it was getting bad reviews. So when Mike would ask me if I saw the movie, I like to claim ignorance just in
Yeah.
case I wanted to get through the gig because it was a really stressful gig trying to. I had to walk in the shoes of Corbin and Mignola and myself,
Right.
combine all of our styles.
That'd be
And
a
I was
little
doing the sequel
intimidating.
to what Mike has said in public and also to me. It's his favorite Hellboy story. So I was just trying, as a laser beam, trying to no emotions about anything. So, and it was a trying time. We had just, I think it was coming out right as COVID was hitting.
Yeah.
That's why it took like 2 years to get collected. So it's been exciting now that it's finally collected. But, and it's fun seeing my name between Mike Mignola, Zach Howard, Arthur Adams, Dave Stewart. It's just kind of the 20-year-old in me or 18-year-old kid in me would be ecstatic. Wouldn't you ever believe those credits?
Yeah, congrats to you, man. That is really cool.
Thank you, dude. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah, so
It's an
much.
honor to be part of.
Yeah. Hey, and we've had some great questions that have been for maybe potential backers for the series. Of course, we're talking about Moonshine Bigfoot. That's over on Kickstarter right now. We're here tonight talking to Zach Howard about this fantastic project. But I have a couple of questions I'd like to ask you as a creator,
Sure.
maybe something a little more specific. We talked about being a Kickstarter user versus some of the other crowdfunding platforms. First off, is Kickstarter your go-to? Is it your main one? And if so, why?
Well, it's the only one I've ever done before. I did 2 other Kickstarter campaigns and had pretty good success on them. This one, we needed funding being an indie, we're an indie book. Although we're all working pros, this is our creator owned series. So we're just trying to make a little funding. So we use Kickstarter again. We made one hell of a trailer. If people will watch it, it's a full fun animated trailer with VO. We hired a VO guy that does Waylon Jennings for us, the narration, and it's really fun. I would love everybody to at least see the trailer.
Absolutely.
And it's a good
I'll put the
campaign.
link below you as you're talking. And viewers, please take a
I,
look. He's not exaggerating. It's terrific fun. I'll put the link in the comments there so that you can follow along.
I appreciate it. But I think they all have something, GoFundMe has its own angle and it's really good for charity if you're sick or, I've
Right.
had friends and peers that have to, because oddly artists aren't rich and when they have bad medical bills, it cripples them immediately. I'm sure a lot of people can feel that pain. So
Right.
things like that are really good for that. There's Crowdfunder. And we'll probably here in a month put Moonshine Bigfoot up there on Crowdfunder so we can let people pre-order the book. But it'll also be available pre-order on Kickstarter. So, and then now there's investment platforms where you can get direct investment and things. So it's still the Wild West, not as bad as when I first tried Kickstarter with Wild Blue Yonder. But it's a rough go. I mean, you're going to find kind of TNA books will get like $100,000 in 3 days, and you're like, okay,
Yeah.
and here it's like I think I was telling my father, I said I feel like a Michelin rated chef in a Burger King world, and it's like I have a skill set that doesn't matter in this realm, you know? And it's like, but that's reality. We're still getting, you know, some money that gets us over the initial hump so I can pay my colorist, things like that, pay a letterist. The artist and I can just get a little bit of money, so at least, you know, we're not starving while we're making this book. So, but it's, you know, you hear so many people like different platforms. I think there's like Zoob or something like that.
Yeah, Zoop is new. And by the way, I'm not disparaging any other source.
Yeah, neither. I don't have experience or
same here. I've never tried one. I've done a couple of Kickstarters, but if we had, I know Zoop, people say that's a pretty good one because the back end, the fulfillment process, and Crowdfunder, they say good things too. I wanted to ask you, how do you guys handle your, if you don't mind me asking, some of these are, like I say, more creator questions. How do you handle your fulfillment? Like, is it professionally handled? Do you?
No, I'll be doing everything myself. My studio.
Okay, hold on, rewind. So when you say everything yourself, you know, you're doing the book build, sending it off to print, and then you mail, like label them up and mail them?
We've already signed with Image, so they'll be doing the books, the books. We'll be doing the special editions. Gotcha. The books will come to us. We'll assign book plates to them, and yeah, we're just gonna, you know, we're at 200, I think, backers right now, and hopefully by the time we finish, we have about 240, 250. We'll just be doing it. You know, I already have most of the merch is already made, things like that. So yeah, putting it all together.
Let's jump on there. I want to talk to you about some of the merch. And Zach, if you could just take a second. Viewers, we're talking about Moonshine Bigfoot. That's over on Kickstarter right now. We're here talking to Zach Howard about this cool project. Can you tell us a little bit about some of the merch? Like, what's some of your favorite things available in the Moonshine Bigfoot campaign?
Well, we got about, hell, I don't even know, 10 shirts to choose from. We're really happy and smitten with some of the designs and logos and symbols and characters we've made. We just got our keychains in today. We have 3 different inexpensive keychains. We just put posters up today. Obviously, our special edition, like we have sketch covers of Moonshine Bigfoot you can get. We're getting a coffee cup. We had a delay on that.
Oh, nice. I'd be a player for that.
But our stickers are pretty cool. The beer coasters, oddly, have sold really well. And so I guess they've been the whatever fan favorite we've had so far. However many people are fans so far, it seems like the beer coasters are a hit.
Hey, and it does look like the project is on fire, man. It seems like customers love it. You guys are burning it up over there.
We're very lucky. We launched hard at C2E2. I was fortunate enough to be a guest there. We did 1 million free sketches for people, for all backers, and it just kind of set the tone for the campaign. We're really happy. Image seems happy about it, and we're excited. We've got nothing but positive feedback. And I think the industry's due for a good comedy because there's really not many in comics right now. So I think,
well, yeah, and especially like the level of quality that you see in this book is not like the and again, I'm not disparaging anybody's book, but you know, some of the Kickstarter projects that you see, maybe the level of quality is not what you might hope for. And when you see Moonshine Bigfoot, it just leaps right off the page.
We're trying to be the best in the world. We got the team to do it. And if I hope people will take a chance on us. By the way, some of the coolest incentives. We're almost to our 5th stretch goal. We're like 450 away or less than that. But we reached our first 4 stretch goals. And I just want to tell everybody, we know you're taking a chance on us, but this is a dream project for us. Even professionals have trouble getting their own books off the ground. So if you could help us out a little bit, I appreciate it. And to show that I appreciate you're taking a chance on us, you get, after the first 4 stretch goals were reached, you now get 13 free comic books just for being any level of backer. Nice. So you get rare out-of-print sketchbooks by my studio mate. My famous one, the cover process sketchbook, out of print. You get that. You get the entire graphic novel, first volume, High Moon, by Steve Ellis, the old DC book. That's out of print. You get an Ashley Wood book. You get a Ben Templesmith book, and among other things. So any level of backing, say you do the digital backing for $7, and we try to make it affordable, just $7. This is 100 pages of comic book, 4 issues. It'll be way more expensive at Image Comics afterwards. We're just trying to show we appreciate you backing us, and we know you're taking a chance. So you get those 13 books. If we get another $445 in 2 more days, our fist stretch goals reached, and that's an Uncle Pineapple Fun Time membership friend card, and that's going to be a laminated card every backer gets. And if
that's
you
really
show,
cool. Yeah,
yeah, if you show that card to Steve Ellis or I, the main artist on the book, at any show at any time, you get a free sticker or print or free sketch from us. Whatever, it's lifetime friendship membership cards.
Isn't that awesome? That's really cool.
Trying to make it fun. You get awesome. The littlest chance you take on us, though we got great things. It's the cheapest way to ever get original artwork of mine. And Steve Ellis, so you get a page of pencils and a page of inks for every page, and you get to choose out of a bevy which one you want. So you make sure you get the one you want. We have sketch covers. We have alternate covers. We have all sorts of fun stuff. Again, we're trying to reward people. So even if you think we suck after you invested in us, you got 13 comic books, you got this membership card, you can at least get some free crap the next time you see us.
Well, I tell you, this project inspires every confidence in me. I'm going to take a look at some of that artwork myself. Viewers, we're talking again about Moonshine Bigfoot. That's over on Kickstarter right now. We're here talking to Zach Howard. The tagline, Moonshine, Muscle Cars, and Mayhem. Just a quick question about that. Man, I love muscle cars. You're a muscle car fan, I take it?
Yeah, especially growing up. Nowadays, I just drive a truck, but I quit football my senior year, and I wanted to rebuild a Mustang that I tracked down in the back of some paint shop, and it hadn't been running in like 14 years. So I just spent my time rebuilding this 67 Mustang, and I had it for, I don't even know how many years, a very long time. And I miss it terribly, but it wasn't, didn't fit into my lifestyle, moving around and having to throw stuff in the back of my truck and as young, poor kids. So, but yeah, I was really proud of it. And I was really into them, and eventually that kind of faded. But anytime I see something, a Nova or a picked out Camaro, I just something tingles in me, and I got to go look at it.
Yeah, you're preaching to the choir, man. I'm right there with you.
I miss that feeling when I had a 351 Windsor in this Mustang. I miss that feeling, man. There's something magical about sitting behind a muscle car.
Just another example of all the cool touches that are in Moonshine Bigfoot. The muscle car angle is just such a cool angle.
Yeah, they're gonna be doing amazing jumps. They're gonna be exploding. Lots of fun, man.
So, and Zach, before we go, I do have one more question for you. And again, this is on the creator side, and I think people would like to hear this. So, man, you've had tons of experience with generating some, what I would call seriously high quality, high profile projects. What advice would you give to an aspiring creator who's trying to get going in 2023?
You have more opportunity and more avenues for success than ever before. However, there's more competition than ever before. And we also don't know where the medium's going. The world's kind of transforming into a digital arena on all fronts, and that includes our medium, comic books. So I would go more to a more generic based advice for people. If you're gonna make a commitment to be a creator, everybody's competing against you, thousands and thousands of people. So to succeed, you got to be willing to outwork them. You got to outthink them. You got to out everything. There's going to be people that are more talented than you. Almost there. I mean, I'm not the most talented guy in the world. I just refuse to come in second place. I will work until I beat you. Just like we're going to do on Bigfoot. Just wait.
Nice.
It'll be more beautiful than any book out there, and it's going to be a silly comedy. However, to digress, you got to kind of be really honest with yourself, get really quiet, remove all other voices, and remove the concept of money. And then if you say, if money were no object, and I steal this from Alan Watts, but if money were no object, what would you do with your time?
Yeah.
And if the answer is whatever your creative thrust, you know, if it's music, art, drawing, painting, whatever it is, if it's that, then do that, because you're going to make money at it anyways if you truly love it and you're passionate about it. So don't lie to yourself. Second one, when you're not lying to yourself, you have to walk this tightrope of understanding your deficiencies. Okay, I'm not getting hired, or nobody will look at my book. Why not? When I look at Adam Hughes's stuff, people love that, but when they look at mine, they vomit profusely. So what is that that's happening? So you got to self-diagnose constantly. The problem with that, you're constantly critiquing yourself, and it's really easy to be overwhelmed because you can only fix a couple things at a time. So you got to just choose the big ones. If my anatomy sucks, you work on anatomy, but always move forward and do it every day. If you want to draw for a living, draw every day. And don't just draw what you're good at, draw what you suck at. But whatever you're fearful of drawing, stop whatever you're doing and just draw that. I sucked at drawing vehicles. I did Wild Blue Yonder, and that was nothing but vehicles flying through the air and exploding. Why? Because I sucked. But by the end of it, I was a wizard at drawing speed and vehicles and angles, and it's like it becomes a magic power. So make your weaknesses your strength. And I can't stress that enough. Be happy when you find a damn weakness in you, because that gives you an opportunity to fix it. Most people don't have the wherewithal, the bravery, the fortitude it takes to improve themselves. So be the person that's willing to improve themselves. But the tightrope is you do critique yourself, so you got to be careful not to get too negative, because we all suck at a lot of things. So you know, when you're climbing that mountain of success, it's baby steps, man. You just take one after the other. You don't just stare at the top of the mountain and say, oh, those people are lucky up there at top. They're lucky they got there. Yeah, blah, blah, blah. You got to climb it too. Some paths are harder than others, but one thing I will guarantee you, if you see other people have done it, that means you can do it. So almost certainly. And so just work on yourself, be honest, and get in the habit of outworking everyone around you. Because if you do that, you're going to achieve whatever you want. You know, it's time at that point, and time just happens. So it doesn't, you don't have to even worry about it.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that. Great answer, brother.
Thank you, man.
So why don't we do this? I'll have the links of the Kickstarter in the comments so that viewers can follow along. Other than Kickstarter, can you please tell the viewers where we can find you, Zach?
Yes, the social media behind me, those little things up there. So I'm spacefriend_Z on Instagram. On Facebook, you could just search me, Zach Howard. I'm all over that. I'm unfortunately most popular on Facebook. I have a website, zachhoward.com. And I mean, I'm on DeviantArt if you can work through the tumbleweeds on that site. But it's mostly IG and Facebook. I'm pretty active with my fans and young artists. If you ever have questions, just message me on one of those sites and I'll get back to you within a day, I promise.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, Zach, I just want to say thanks for coming on the show. And viewers, it's not too late. Go right now over to Kickstarter and check out Moonshine Bigfoot by Zach Howard. I'm giving this book my strongest possible recommendation. I love cryptids anyway, and I was just blown away when I saw it. So don't miss your chance. I think we got 48 hours left.
Awesome. awesome.
Something like that. And the work looks terrific. And Zach, I just want to say in closing, I appreciate you coming on, man. This has been an episode of the Creative Cranium. We're talking to today's hottest creators. Thanks for coming. Good night, everybody.